Okay. Okay, I am live a few minutes early. Let me get adjusted here just for a second. If you have clicked on this video and this is not the live stream, if you're not watching the live stream, if you're watching the playback, this was a recorded live stream. There's going to be a chat off to the side that you can follow where we're talking today, but it's not an edited video. This is a live conversation. So if you're looking at me in the future, that's what's about to happen. It's 3:59. We're going to get started in 1 minute. So I'm kind of waiting for people to get here. That's what I'm doing right now. That's my job. We'll get started in a second. If you're here, say hi. Madeline's here. Hey. Faye Mushroom. Oh, no, there's a couple people in here. Just a couple. I usually get 5 to 10 folks at any given time on my live streams. I mean, I guess I should hope for a bigger audience, but right now it's my audiences are like small enough that I can actually talk to y'all in the live stream. So that's kind of nice. Like I don't have to like weed through a bunch of comments to get to relevant ones. So Joanna's here. Hello. 3:59. I'm gonna get started like right at 4. I don't know if I'm gonna use my phone today. Today's going to be a little different. Oh, it's 4 o'clock now. So we'll do the official hi. I am Michelle. This is Unicorn and Centaur, and welcome to the weekly live stream. Today, we're doing something a little bit different. You may have noticed from the title. I have been avoiding the difficult topics because difficult conversations are not necessarily what this channel is about. We're all about fun and glitter and unicorn and rainbows, but there are unpleasant truths about even the equestrian world, and I wanted to dig into a little bit today. Let me see. I have my notes today, y'all. I'm serious. I did not come here to play. So our topic today is racism in equestrian sports. And I don't want to get into a screaming match about the ethics of rioting and looting, what's going on in the world today. I don't want to talk about brutality and injustice necessarily here. I want to talk about how it specifically affects us as equestrians and what we can do in our world. I don't know. Let me see. Let me go back to my notes. Oh, let me start with my disclaimers. Who's here? Oh, Joanna, what we're not doing. What we're doing today is we're just sort of having a conversation. I decided this topic needs my full attention. I'm not going to clean my boots and do a tack chat during this one. I am not going to be doing art or anything else. I really want to focus on the conversation, and I want to really talk about something that it's a very uncomfortable conversation, and a lot of equestrians don't want to have it. So if you want to check out for today's conversation, I understand. If you're here for glitter and rainbows and this is not your kind of thing, then that's fine. If you have been incredibly triggered by all of the events happening in the world and you just do not have the spoons for another conversation about racism, if you're Black or a person of color and you just can't handle hearing about this anymore, I get it if you need to check out. I love you so much and you matter to me and this is important, and we're going to have this discussion today, but if you need to not be here for it, that's cool. That being said, I'm not really talking to Black equestrians today. If you're here, hi, yes. And I would contribute if you have the energy to, but this is primarily a discussion for the white equestrians who maybe don't want to admit there's racism in our industry, or who have noticed it but haven't really been able to talk about it. Today, I want to talk about it, and I want to talk about what we can do to change it and to help moving forward. This is not about ranting about anything. This is not about being angry about anything. This is about us swallowing our feelings and really sort of dispassionately looking at an issue and finding out how we can make our sport more inclusive for all people. Oh, my notes here. My other disclaimer, I'm not an expert. I'm just someone who has done some research and has been reading a lot about things in the last few years. So like there's you can get an African American studies major in college. There are like entire courses that you can take on this. There's no way I can know everything. And my personal journey in understanding racism and dealing with it and combating it has been a long one. And I'm not perfect, and I'm still working on myself. So that's something. Yeah, I'm right here. I'm not woke. I'm learning. And this is, yeah, again, this is not me telling Black equestrians how to do the work. I know y'all are already doing the work. This is for people who aren't already doing the work or who want to know how to do more. So I hope y'all are here tonight. Brittany's here. It's 3:00 where you're in the central time zone. Brittany, you've got a show this weekend. Aw. Becca's here. Hey. Oh yeah, Becca, I may need you to help me if things get spicy. And people start getting ugly. Y'all, let's remember, this can be a very controversial conversation. And I may say really cringy or horrible things during this conversation. And there might be really cringy and awful things showing up in the comments. But we're going to work through them together because we love each other. Tabitha. I don't have spoons at all. Oh my gosh, yes. Autism Centaur, hi. We're having a little bit of a different conversation today. And again, I am not an expert in any of these matters. I have taken college courses in college on different parts of history and African American history, but I don't have a major in it or anything. And I have been doing more reading lately. So, oh, my statement for Unicorn and Centaur, like for this channel is all inclusive. This channel is LGBTQ friendly. This channel, on this channel, Black Lives Matter, and this issue is important. I will stand up for you no matter what your religion is. Where I am not personally religious, but this channel is open to it, Christians, Jewish people, Muslims, whatever your religion is. I would like to make content that doesn't make you uncomfortable. I want the extra equestrian world to make everyone feel at home instantly. I want everyone to feel that connection immediately, no matter what your background, no matter where you are. And I don't want to accidentally exclude people through my language. See, I'm gonna show that one. Autism. Why can't Black people and white people get along? Well, we can. We can. The problem is, let me give you a little bit about my background. I grew up in a military family. My father was in the Air Force, and I grew up on military installations. And the U.S. military has a larger percentage of minorities than the general population. So I grew up around a lot of Black people and a lot of Latino people and a lot of Asian people. They were just all, it was literally a melting pot. And so I get used to that. And then I was taught things when I was younger, like, the I don't see color and to be colorblind and to treat everyone the same. And so that's what I did. And it took me a while to dismantle things that I had been taught that I didn't realize were exclusive of others and were hurtful to other people. So I think sometimes when Black Autism Centaur, to get to your question, I think sometimes that when Black people and white people can't get along, it's because there is a disconnect in the experiences. And it can be difficult for white people who have not grown up in that level of diversity or that level of exploring this topic. It can be difficult or jarring for them to see another perspective. And the immediate reaction is pushback. That can't be true because it's not true in my mind. We can get into that. Hang on. The reason I want to go into this topic is because there is racism in the equestrian world. In all horse disciplines, you'll find it. And I've had people tell me that it's because Black people don't like horses. And I'm like, that sounds ridiculous. And I'm thinking instead, and I used to believe that. I used to think, well, gosh, there's not a lot of Black people doing equestrian sports. I guess they just don't like horses. And then as an adult, having more and more friends tell me, no, that's not true. What happens is the equestrian world becomes so unwelcoming to them that despite their passion, they cannot face it breaks you down every single day to have to deal with different levels of racist aggression. And it makes you've been at a barn where a person makes you crazy for whatever reason. They're some sort of psychopath and they're always on you and they're always getting to you and they just make it so that you don't even want to go see your own horse. That's what happens is that Black equestrians get faced with so much racism that they're like, all right, I'm not coming here anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And that to me is heartbreaking. That horse racing is one industry that I think like right after like in the 1800s and like the mid to late 1800s, most of the jockeys were Black African Americans. They were considered the best. All the things I'm reading at the time say that the white jockeys were no good. They didn't know how to ride, but all the Black jockeys were in very high demand. They were very highly paid for that time. I'm not going to say they were highly paid. I'm going to say they were highly paid for the time. And they were very well respected in their careers. And of course, as we get to the 20th century, it turns out, things change. But in horse racing, I've had Black friends tell me that when they go to horse racing events, like people will assume they're the groom. And that's like when I go to a show, when I go to an event, nobody asks me if I'm the groom. Like they ask me like where they ask me if they can help me. So that kind of blows me away. So if you are a person of color and you are in the horse show world, it is very often that someone will assume you're lost. This is what I'm told. Someone will assume that you are up to no good. That's another one. They'll be followed around at horse shows, which I think is weird. It's a horse show. What are they doing? Another one that I have seen, let me see. One stereotype of the English writing world, like show jumping, is very rich, very white, very upper middle class, like very, summers at the Hamptons kind of thing. Do you know what I'm saying? Which, I'm not rich. I live on a ridiculously stupid amount of money. I don't even know how I could afford to have horses. However, there is this stereotype that all of those show jumping people are, rich, snobby white girls, which is not true. That's not the entire equestrian world. But if you're a Black equestrian and you run into enough of those, you run into enough of the Karens, it's going to turn you off of it. I'm gonna go into the chat for just a second. Hang on. And by the way, I may say absolutely horrible and cringy things during the chat today. And I am a white person who has not experienced the butt end of systemic racism my entire life. So, I didn't even know what a microaggression was until like 5 years ago. So, give me a minute. I'm working on it. I don't care what type of color you are. I just want to be friends. Same. That's how I grew up too. Never went somewhere everyone was all inclusive. Further out you go. Well, yeah, there are places that like even still nowadays, it exists more than others. There are places that's the thing. There are places where more overt racism exists than in others. And this is why it's important to trust the voices of the Black people who communicate with you and say, yes, it's racist here. Just because you have not personally experienced it doesn't mean it's not happening. So like maybe I've never seen something racist happening in, Beaumont, Georgia or whatever, Beaufort, maybe. But that doesn't mean it's not happening there. And when somebody tells me, hey, I've experienced this here, I need to listen to that. Question, what Native American on Earth before white, Black race? No, human beings all, from what I know from my anthropology studies, human beings all sort of evolved, the Homo sapiens sapiens species, which all races are a part of. I'm not sure when different areas started splitting off, but the Native Americans weren't here first necessarily. The oldest cultures are Chinese, are Asian. The oldest humans are from Africa. So So Africa is where we found the oldest remains of human beings. I think China is where we found the first civilizations. People might need to check my sources. Again, I'm an equestrian. Also a bit of a history buff since I'm a tour guide as well. But again, I don't know everything. I'm not Google. One of y'all could Google it. No scientific evidence. All right, then we'll Google that and learn about it. Something to study. Britain, America, yes, different melanin levels. Was incredibly. Oh yeah. Well, a lot. I think everybody was racist over 100 years ago. Like everybody. And yeah. So yeah, even famous people can. Didn't have enough money to compete jumpers. Well, that's another aspect of it too, is poor shaming in the equestrian world. That is a whole other topic that we could talk about, how you get made to feel like crap if you have a cheap saddle or a secondhand tack, or, you know, you don't have $100 breeches or $200 breeches. Do you know what I'm saying? That's a whole other conversation. Today, we're going to work on things that are specifically exclusionary of race. Further you get from the see, a lot of this stuff about where the races began, like I would have to do a lot more. Like if anybody who's watching this, like I don't think we've got an anthropologist in the comments. We're all talking about things that we have heard, things that we have studied and researched. And again, we need to check sources on these things. Y'all aren't rich either, right? Can I go swimming? Yes. Hinduism was the first culture. Africa's nicknamed the cradle of creation. Yes, another area of equestrian sports that I have friends telling me a lot of racism is coming from is the rodeo circuit, which makes me sad. But like Western riders, like my husband just found out today that there are Black rodeos. And again, that's because the Black community has felt so ostracized from the white community that they're like, all right, we're just going to have our own rodeo. And if you go to any of those Facebook pages, the comments are atrocious under there. Just people going, oh, why can't I have a white rodeo? And just like, calm down, everyone. Like, you know, if you make people feel uncomfortable for being at your rodeo, so then they go have their own rodeo, and then you make fun of them for having their own rodeo, like, just stop it. Get my question on why there's no spotted centaurs in movies. Oh, I don't know why there's no spotted centaurs in movies. I would definitely make spotted centaurs in movies. My guess is that they're too difficult to animate. Like maybe the spots are hard. Like maybe just plain colored horses are easier to animate. I don't know. So I really, going back to the different sports that are that where racism is prevalent in our industry. Obviously, like we all have a lot to learn about racism, and we're not going to learn it here in the chat. I'm not going to be able to educate you all on different levels of wokeness, so to speak, or to give you everything. We can talk about a couple of concepts, which I think are important. And before we go into how we can make changes, I want to just briefly discuss a couple of concepts that I want everybody, please, in the chat to take with you. And the first one is fragility. They call it white fragility. And this is what makes it difficult to talk about racism, is because every time you do, someone gets angry and starts shouting. So white people have been the dominant culture in the United States for its entire existence. So as the dominant culture, we don't get to get butt hurt, you know? So hang on. Autism Centaur, yes, not just Black people. Special needs kids, yes. Special needs kids often have their own special shows because they don't feel welcomed in ableist is, I guess we could call the horse world as well. There, obviously, as we're discussing today, somebody else mentioned sexism earlier in the Extra Equestrian group. Yes, we could talk about how racist, sexist, ableist, wealthist, I guess you could say, these sports are. And I really feel like we can change that. Am I too naive right now? Somebody help me. Um, uh, let's go back to talking about being fragile, about your feelings. When people, dear white people, when someone says that you've said something racist or has called you racist, like step one is to not get upset about that. We're just talking here, right? So if somebody, this has happened to me many, many times. And when it first happens, oh my God, you get all up in your feelings. When someone tells you that something you just said was racist, your first thought is nuh-uh. And your first thought is to want to double down on it and explain all the ways that it's not in fact racist. But those moments are really there for you to disengage first and get a hold of your feelings, because again, as the dominant culture, you're on top here. Listen to the people who are telling you about the problems they experience and the way that you're being perceived. It's hard, it's very difficult to look at yourself and to say, hey, maybe I did say something insensitive. And let me tell you, that is the worst feeling to me. I cannot stand having doubled down on something and then realize that I was maybe wrong. Oh my God, like it hurts. It hurts. It really hurts. But we have to swallow those feelings and learn how to deal with them and push through them if we're going to have these conversations that help make the world a better place for all of us. Never noticed the race issues. See, I didn't notice the race issues too until I started having Black equestrian friends that were like, hey, did you know this? And I was like, what? Because it's not something that we're paying attention to. Yes, we have blind spots where this occurs, and part of it's not our fault because we're living in the world that we were raised in, but part of it kind of is our fault because we can learn. Like Maya Angelou says, once you know better, you do better. Hang on a second. Always apologize when I say something offensive. I do too. Like I used to get defensive about it. Honestly, I'm gonna admit it right here. It's so embarrassing. I have doubled down before real hard on why something I said was not racist. I'll say I said the N-word. I used to say that it was okay for white people to say it if I was singing a song or if I was quoting something. And I doubled down hard on it and I would go into it. And I had enough of my friends say, hey, we really just don't like it. And the fact that I was so convinced I was right about it made me not see how me deciding to double down on this word, my friends saw that as me feeling like being right was more important than how they perceive me. When you hear that word all the time in a negative way, to have your friends blow it off as it's nothing is hurtful to you. And so I finally took the note. I finally stopped at all. Like I never used it in a negative manner. I've never, but I've used it in a way that I felt entitled to, in a way that I was convinced was not hurtful because it wouldn't be hurtful to me. So why would anybody else be hurt by it? Finally, I had it explained. But didn't know it's why people riding became best friends with Loriana. Yes, she's amazing. Right. Yes. Well, in Japan, horse racing is one of their biggest sports. Japanese horse racing is huge. So yes, they do equestrian sports. And in a lot of Asian countries, I know they have indoor arenas, which is great because not just indoor arenas, but like an indoor arena on the 10th floor of a building, like a barn and a whole equestrian center, like on an upper floor of a building, because space is at a premium in many Asian cities. And so construction goes up instead of like sprawling out like it does in a lot of places in the United States where there's a lot of land. So I can't imagine going to a horse show on like the 10th floor of a building. Like what? That's just crazy. I think there's equestrian centers like that in Dubai as well, or United Arab Emirates. I don't know. So another concept is privilege. And a lot of people bristle at this, especially if you grew up very poor, especially, oh, Joanna, gotta go. Good to see you here today. Thank you for joining the conversation. privilege just means that your skin color hasn't held you back from anything. That doesn't mean you get special points in society or anything. It doesn't mean that your life is automatically better. It doesn't mean you've never struggled. It doesn't mean you've never lost. It doesn't mean you've never grieved. It doesn't mean you've never been angry. It doesn't mean you've never been wronged. It doesn't even mean you've never had someone be prejudiced against you. It simply means that your skin color didn't keep you from getting a job. It didn't keep you from getting a loan. It didn't keep you from, getting into school, where it does quite often with Black people and people of color. So that is all that white privilege means. It doesn't mean that white people are privileged. It means that we have the privilege of not having to worry about our skin color holding us back. That's all it means. So when someone's saying that you're having a privileged viewpoint, that's not something to get your feelings about either. That's just something to be like, oh, hey, privilege is something you dismantle in your mind. Like when someone tells you, hey, that's a really privileged viewpoint, you can sit back and be like, oh, right, I'm thinking this because I have the luxury of making this choice. And I've now been faced with understanding that other people don't have the luxury of this choice. So that doesn't mean your opinion's wrong. It means you need to understand that other people don't have it like that other people don't have the luxury of that choice. Does that make sense? Again, not something to get butthurt about. If you're white fragility, not something to get butthurt about. Let's not be in our feelings. Privilege, again, the accusation, not something to get butthurt about. Just examine yourself. Like maybe it's true. The last two things that I want, accidentally offended a woman last night by calling her a small child. Her small child, that one. Oh, yeah. See, I do that too, Tabitha. I have had, my biggest thing was when Liam was little, I am physically, genetically, I am a great ape. Humans are primates and we are great apes. So when my son was little, I called him my little monkey baby. I was monkey mama and he was monkey baby. But I can't call him that in public, and I can't call other children that in public because it sounds horrifyingly racist. And if you know the history of Black people being called monkeys, God, it's so uncomfortable even to say it out loud, then you know why that had to be a private thing, just me and my kid, because it made so much sense to me, but it wasn't something that I could share with everyone because not everyone had my perspective and not everyone shared my joy at being connected to the rest of the apes in the world and seeing videos of gorilla mamas and really connecting with them and be like, God, I felt that. I know that look on her face, But to me, that was just me connecting as a human, one great ape to another. And it had nothing to do with race, but it's a racially loaded thing to say, so I can't say it in public. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Harry Plumtree, hey, what you doing? We're having difficult conversations here, Harry, instead of our normal thing, which is to paint things for our horses and crochet hats for them and things like that. As it does. I'm German immigrant, bath bomb. It said bomb. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, right, Tabitha? No, I can't say that. All right, hang on. We want to go back. One more thing I want to talk about. Okay, so you've learned how to get over your feelings and you've learned how to deal with accusations of things, and it's not a big deal. When you're moving forward with this, you want to avoid what's called centering. And that means making all the conversations about yourself. So your Black friend shares an experience with you and you say, oh my gosh, this one time or I want to tell you about this. A lot of times you just need to listen. One of the hardest lessons to learn in learning about racist issues is to learn how to just shut up and listen, because we're taught that our opinions matter and our opinions count. Everyone's do. And so, but there are times when we're talking about the actual experience of racism, my opinion is not as important as someone who experiences it every day. I may have had various run-ins with racist things in my life, but that doesn't mean I experience it on any kind of a daily level. And that makes my opinion about the experiences of it way less than someone who either has studied it formally in college, say, or has a job in the field, or is a person of this community who experiences it again daily, all the time. It's different. So there are times when, as a white person, I need to shut up. And that's, for me, y'all know I love to talk. For me, that was one of the hardest. That was really like, ugh. Really? Because I want to tell my story. I want to say this one time I want to talk about how this affects me. I want to share my feelings and show you a lot of it. I want to show you that I'm feeling the same thing as you. I get it. I'm with you. But a lot of times that's just not appreciated in the moment. And that's not the correct way, or that's not the most supportive way to give love to someone and to show someone that you care about them in that particular time. I hope that makes sense. Unicorns. Yes, I love unicorns. Got to go. I'm glad. Thank you, Faye Mushroom, for participating. I really appreciate it. Everyone who is participating here in the chat today, I love it. There's a word, actual thing that happens when you have to tell someone something and you tell them something very similar to you. It's a research thing. Like mirroring. Is it mirroring? Is that what we're talking about? Where you want to tell a similar story so that you can show kinship with someone and you can connect in that way. But because there is a disparity in the level of experience here, there is no possible way I can truly understand the way a person of color sees the world and experiences the world. So their story is much more important than mine if we're having discussions of race. It's hard not to do sometimes, but when someone accuses, this is again like the other things. If someone says, "Hey, you're really centering here," all you got to do is back off. All you got to do is say, "Hey, I'm so sorry," and then just back up for a second. Even though you really want to talk more, I know you do. I always do. I want to talk more. I want to come back in with another explanation. No, but what I meant was, no, but what I was saying was, no, what you don't understand is, I want a million explanations, but don't. It's hard. This one's so hard. And okay. I'm gonna look at my notes. Okay, we talked about my disclaimers. I talked about my statement. I talked about ways the horse world is racist. We talked about how the equestrian world can be made unwelcoming to Black people and people of color if you experience so many microaggressions. I have a colored cob and it's black and white and it lives happily. Well, I expect it does. I always apologize and back off. Yes. Everyone, fingers crossed. Your mare gets on the. Yes, you've been working hard on getting that mare trailered. This matters to me because I hate the idea of anyone not pursuing their passion because they are so beaten down by the environment in which it happens. I can't imagine that. And that's one reason that I'm saying this particular platform, this YouTube channel, is all inclusive, and anyone who has anything negative to say about any member of the community, I can't have that here. Like, whatever your religion is, whatever your sexual orientation is, whatever your race is, I want to make sure that I'm not making content that makes you feel unwelcome. And that's a lot of what this discussion today is about, is to help people think in that way. How can we make our equestrian world more welcoming to people who have historically been made to feel unwelcome in these spaces? This is so important to me. I love y'all. How can we change this? What time is it? It's 4:32. We probably won't go the whole hour. This is a long and exhausting discussion, y'all. So I want to hit a couple more points here, and then maybe we can by the time my Diet Dr. Pepper's done, I don't know. How can we change this? What can we do? First of all, you can follow Black equestrians online. There are Black Instagrammers that are doing amazing things. Maybe I'll try to link a couple down below afterwards. Chanel Rhodes, who makes these beautiful, she makes extensions for horses' manes and tails that are like all these beautiful colors. And then Nikki, what's her name? oh, dang it, I can't remember her full name, but I just started following her the other day. She's the woman who rode her horse during one of the protests and rode her horse, whose name was Dapper Dan. And in every picture, Dapper Dan is just like totally chill. And there's all these people marching all around him with signs and stuff. And the queen is just up on top of him and she is owning the world. Excuse me. I don't know if y'all have seen that picture, but it was amazing. But there are a few, there are Black Instagrammers you can follow. There are Black YouTubers you can follow. Just follow the content. One other thing that you can do is to make sure that Black voices are heard in in situations where racism exists. Like if you're in conversations online, on Instagram and on Facebook, don't get mad and start angrily shouting racist at the racist person. What you can do is react to the comments of the Black people who are commenting, so that everyone sees that they have support for what they're saying. And you can also back them up if you feel like you need to. Now, again, if you're white, don't just insert yourself into a conversation that's already happening and going, but to help amplify those voices when need to be heard. Amplifying the voices of Black creators can also come in other ways, such as sharing posts on whatever social media platform that you're on. If a content creator is making something, you can help them share their message to the world. So sharing, consuming content, following people online. This is just a good practice anyway, y'all. Also, attend Black equestrian events. We don't have any here, which is surprising to me. I live in a town. I told y'all earlier in the live stream, I grew up in the military, in the Air Force. So it was a larger percentage of minority people than in the general population. And now I live in a city, Savannah, Georgia, which is about 2/3 African-American citizens. So I am in the minority in my town, population-wise. In my neighborhood is about the same as the demographic of the city itself. Most of my neighbors are Black. And so I am surrounded every day by Black friends and neighbors and coworkers. And I have been so lucky to have that kind of diversity in my life. But I know not everyone experiences this. Not everyone has that richness of culture to draw on in their daily environment. So following more Black creators will help you see more than you would be seeing in your normal life. And this is a good thing. And attending Black equestrian events. I would go to a Black rodeo. Oh my God, I want to go. I want to go so bad. If there's one nearby, Brittany, you have to help me. We got to find it. Hang on. Someone on Facebook threatened my house. Use the net. Oh, I'm going to go and show that one. Yeah, Brittany, that's weird. Yeah. Yeah, when people just don't make sense, sometimes you can just be like, okay, bye. Now, dealing with pushback. This is the last thing I want. When we're talking about these issues, there is bound to be pushback. And I'm so grateful that we have not had angry people screaming about ridiculous things in the chat today. But you will get pushback once you start engaging in this kind of self-education and this kind of work. You will get people who call you, like if someone says something racist and you say, hey, I think that's kind of racist. And then they call you a racist for bringing it up. That's pushback. And we don't take that personally. We disengage. There are times and also maybe you do say something. Maybe you say something and then a Black person comes on and says, whoa, 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 hey, we don't use that term anymore. Instead of me going, I can use whatever term I want, you disengage. Deep breath, step back, and examine the situation. So there are times when you'll be called racist by someone who's just angry that you called them a racist. Sometimes you'll get called a racist because you did put your foot in your mouth and you did say something stupid. It's quite possible I've said something stupid at some point on this live stream and someone will come in the comments down below and call me out on it. And at which point I hope I have the grace to receive this education. Of course, I might get angry white people in the comments accusing me of being racist as well. And I haven't yet decided if I'll delete those or drop some education on them for any lurkers. I don't know. Again, not like I am the be all end all of race relations and studies. I'm not an expert. This is not my lived experience. This is my learned experience. Everything I've talked to y'all about tonight has been my learned experience. And I have learned these things by reading books, by reading websites suggested to me by Black friends, by increasing my circle of friends, by diversifying the content that I consume. I have done this as well, and you can too. It is so worth it to diversify your life in this way. It makes you more approachable. It makes you more welcoming to everyone. Now, if this is not your goal, if you don't care about being welcoming to everyone, if you don't care about everyone being included, I don't even know why you're on my channel. If you're hate watching me, hi. Anyway, the world, I'm not racist, but yes, exactly. That means when someone says I'm not a racist, but that means they're about to say something that they know in their heart is problematic. So I'm all for calling out people with kindness, but I understand there's a lot of people that are just over this crap and they are not about calling out people in a nice way anymore. I'm still at the point where I'm trying to be kind in behavioral corrections when people are acting like a donkey, in public or online. Again, because I'm not the utmost authority. Pelvic bone is messed up. Oh, Britt, are you having trouble with that again? Educate myself. Aw. You know what? Sometimes people make a mistake. Somebody shared the 52 Thoroughbreds post with me this morning. And I explained to her that it was not a real thing, that the 52 Thoroughbreds found a home long ago. And then there were a couple horse people that came on and were kind of laughing at her post. And I think I was afraid she was going to get her feelings hurt, but instead she just deleted the post. And I hope she didn't get her feelings hurt. But again, that's the way to do it. If somebody tells you, and she was trying to be helpful. So this is a good analogy for it. Like if you're trying to be helpful and you offer something to someone, look, here's a thing I'm doing to help. And they go, yeah, that's the opposite of helpful. You don't get mad at them. It hurts, but you take what just happened and you analyze it and you learn and you move forward from it. And that I hope is the biggest takeaway from anybody who needs to hear this. I don't know which one of y'all needs to hear this. Maybe I'm preaching to the choir and all of you are on board and I love you all so much. But anyway, I think I'm about to cut this short. It's 4:40. I got to go. Oh, Tabitha, I love you too. Having someone I can talk to. I'm about to close down the live stream, especially since we haven't been doing anything today except talking and discussing. Thank you, everybody who participated in this conversation. Thank you if you watch this on the playback. If you can think of anything that I missed. Oh, Trish is here. I think a lot of edge coming on lockdown makes people snarky. Yes, this is another reason why it's more important than ever to check our feelings at the door. I know. I don't want it either. I don't like it either. But yeah. Did the virus die or something? No, Brittany in Savannah, about 3 or 4 people a week die of COVID-19. We've still got it here. Our cases are rising. So of all the counties in Georgia, we've got a pretty high percentage, but we're not seeing the level that Atlanta is seeing. Atlanta is covered in it. Atlanta is a big old petri dish right now. Savannah doesn't seem to be as bad. We've had over 500 cases here so far, the last count. But 3 or 4 people a week are dying from it. And I'm wearing my mask out in public. I hope y'all are too. I'm not here on the live stream, but when I go out in public, it's the new normal for us. Where's my mask? Did you get your mask? Get your clean and throw it in the laundry as soon as we get home. So it's our new normal here. And so I'm gonna, again, cut this off. So again, thank you to everybody who joined me today and everyone who is interested in moving forward in this topic of working through our own racist ideas and thoughts and things that we say, our own behaviors, to be able to pick apart that and examine that in ourselves is an amazing thing. And I would like to encourage everyone to continue doing this work. It's not an end point destination. You never reach a destination of woke. It's a journey that you keep moving along because it keeps changing. There are new things that we learn. There are new things that open up. There are new ways that we can fix this problem. But it's time for all of us to work together and do it because I want more. I want the extra equestrians in particular to be welcoming to all people. I want it to be welcome. I don't want Black people to feel threatened on this channel. I don't want gay and lesbian people to feel threatened on this channel. I don't want disabled people to feel left out of the content on this channel. I want all of you to experience and enjoy this. I feel like unicorns and magic and pretty things and being hilarious and amazing and dramatic and doing fun stuff just for fun. I feel like this transcends all of those things and it can be for everyone. And that's why I'm having this conversation with you guys today. So unicorns are for everybody. So we have to work hard to dismantle racism as well as the others we touched on today too, sexism and ableism. We have to dismantle all of these systems so that everybody can experience the unicorn magic, not just those of us who always have. So I hope everybody, I want the Norwood family back, I know. Rising in my city too. Stay safe, Madeline. Again, thank you guys for being here today. I love you all so much. We'll get back to something we'll get back out of this. I don't want all of my content on this. I want this to be a place where we go to get away from the craziness in the world. So thank you again for having this serious discussion with me, and we will get back to rainbows and unicorns with the next video. Thank you very much for participating, and we'll say bye now. Bye, y'all.